Hello and welcome to another episode of WornOut Racing, your one-stop shop to cheap car thrills. Now, I'm going to be carrying on my trend recently of actually doing some stuff, and this is going to be one of the first videos in I'm hoping, short series of videos of getting the turbo ready for its MOT and its mapping. Now, before I start swinging spanners and firing off tools, it's probably best we start with the list. Cool. And here it is, the list. You might be thinking this list is quite short, and I am being optimistic, but I genuinely think that this is all that actually needs to be done to this car to at least get it ready for the MOT. I mean, projects, are they ever finished? Probably not. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to change on it, but for now, we'll just concentrate on these. Rust, exhaust, mapping. Rust, you'll be glad to know, or at least I'm very glad to know, that I own a mid to late 90s Italian car that hasn't dissolved. So I've got a tiny little bit of surface rust on this bottom arch. But we'll get into that and we'll see how bad it is and what we can do to remedy it. Exhaust, I've already built half the exhaust myself. It's anyone's guess whether it's going to stand up to any heat or anything, but it's a 2-inch exhaust, stainless, downpipe, goes under the sump to a 200 sub cat, and it basically stops there. I've got some bends, I've got some straights, I've got some V-clamps, so we'll get that in another episode. And then mapping. Now, obviously I can't do mapping, but I am actually going to do a bit of a episode on that as well, of kind of like an idiot's guide. Things to expect, what you should consider, some of the mapping software that we use, some of the tables, just kind of like a little bit of a heads up. If you're thinking of going standalone ECU, what would be some nice stuff that I probably would have liked to have known before I started mine. But let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Let's get into item 1 on the list. And I think we should probably just dig into what sort of tools and products I'm going to be using to tackle the rust. So let's go. Okay, so what do I need? So you will almost certainly need some kind of drill. Probably a cordless one would do the job, but if you've got a plug-in one, they actually do spin a little bit better than that. You need some tools or attachments, thus, to clear off the rust. So the main thing here, obviously, and I'm telling this to you like you don't actually know it is, just get as much of the rust and paint away as you can until you get to nice clean metal, because that one little bit that you miss will come back and bite you later. So I tend to leave the grinder wheels till the last instance, really. They're pretty aggressive. And not all of you's going to have a grinder out there anyway, so yeah, I don't tend to go with those too much. I actually use this just for getting off loose rust. It won't do a lot for paint, but the little wire brush wheels are really good. But the main two I actually use are these. So this is like a tougher nylon material. Where it's not abrasive, it's great for body panels and stuff like that, because it will take all the paint and a lot of the rust and stuff on it without actually damaging or heating the metal up too much. So these are great. You can actually get these for a grinder attachment as well, which I'll be honest, probably would do a better job. Just because it doesn't spin too good on the drills, but that'll be good. And my dad actually put me onto these. He used to be a professional polisher, so it's like a Brillo pad sanding wheel. This one's a little bit knackered now, but they usually have quite a nice edge on it, but it's great for getting paint and stuff off, and it actually will grind your rust back to the bare metal without actually damaging it too much, so that will definitely get a use. The next thing you need is to kill that damn rust. So I've actually got two pronged approach that I do for this. So you've got the Eastwood rust encapsulator. It won't just be Eastwood to do this. There's lots of different choices for it, but you can throw this straight over the top of rust and it will kill it. I don't actually do that because I don't know if I necessarily trust it. So I go with a rust encapsulator, rust killer first. Never actually used this brand before, but it had pretty good reviews, so we'll wing it, see how we get on. It actually does a coat of primer as well as part of the process. Then I'll put the Eastwood encapsulator over the top, let that dry. I will probably leave it overnight just because it's good to try and let this stuff have plenty of time to breathe between layers before you start whacking it on there. And then lastly, you obviously need some kind of high quality coating. Now, there is a minefield of choice out there. You'll have some people that swear by certain products, some people that don't like using it. There's different ones for different areas. You've got like cavity fillers and underbody stone chips, soft ones, hard ones, you know. But I like to try and keep it fairly simple. So as much as I don't like this stuff, this wax oil stuff, because seemingly every time that I find it on a car that I own or I've bought, it's got 3 kilograms of body filler underneath it and 14 litres of this over the top. But there is definitely a place for it. I like to use it where you can't really see. I don't really like the look of it that much. So normally little nooks and crannies, and I've got a couple of little tiny bits in there I want to get it into. And lastly, I was going to go for Schultz Stone Chip, but my local retailer was all sold out. So I actually went for the next most expensive one, which I know doesn't necessarily guarantee you anything. But so I've not used this before, but I just went for a Bordeaux Black. This one is specifically for doing sills, which is perfect. So we'll get that on there as well. So without further ado, we'll get cracking, see how bad it is, keep our fingers crossed it's all right, Hopefully we can make a half decent job of it. We'll just have one quick look at the area we're going to be working on, and then that'll be the last you'll hear from me talking for a little bit as you see my fat little head busying away. Let's take a look. Okay, so this is the place where I was talking. So it's just down here. Now they can go here sometimes. They're not massively like prone to it, but they can get it. I just started getting a little bit of bubbling just in this one bit. I'm probably just going to grind it most of the way up here, around there, and just go all the way down to about an inch past, just to make sure that I've basically got rid of all of it. I don't think I'm going to have to come up very far. It's not particularly bad. I may remove these back covers because if I'm honest, it just holds more mud in there than it does anything else. But let's get cracking. We'll get the tripod on a little time lapse and see how bad it is. So here we are, look, pretty cleaned up. I've managed to get it like basically all the way up here. No real terrible things to report back there, and everything again is exactly as I was hoping. It never really got any further than the actual sill. I've managed to clean it all up pretty good. Now for some random reason, hopefully you can see this, look, there are two tiny little holes that had all but no rust at all around them, but you can see this very thin layer of filler that was on there, which did give me a minor heart attack for a second. Oh, yeah, and the reason I nearly had a heart attack is, generally speaking, body filler in areas where you're repairing rust never ends well, and you always think, oh great, I'm going to see my foot through that hole in a second. But no concern at all. So on to the next step. We'll get our rust converter on there, let it do its thing, and then we can move on to the next steps of sealing it and making it look nice. A little bend crook top tip for you: clean up between stages. It will make your life that little bit nicer. Okay, so using my built-in micron meter, I completely guessed how thick to put that on. It looks pretty good. I mean, I'm going to see what it does. You can already see it starting to turn what was brown black, which is good. Obviously, it won't do anything to the fresh metal. So apart from maybe give it, like I said, a slight black primer. I actually prefer to use, just get some old toothbrushes or steal one or buy one. I just bought this one because it's really good, if you can, just to really scrub it in there to get it in all the little tiny little gaps and the rough parts of the rust. Otherwise, we'll leave that alone, let it do its thing, and then come back, and if it needs another coat because we missed anything, then we will do just that. Right, so we're back in the garage. I didn't actually get time to do anything on the car yesterday, so it's actually a day further along. But off camera, I did do a little bit of final prep on there, and a couple of little bits I wasn't too happy with, so I just sanded it back again. And I've gone over it with the anti-rust primer. I didn't see the point in recording it. Yeah, there's only so long you can watch somebody doing this for before it gets boring. So we'll just take a quick look, show you how it looks then, and we'll move on to the stone ship phase. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. Let's see how we got on. Get the inspection light on there. So hopefully you'll agree that it's looking pretty good. So we just managed to get the primer on there. It goes on pretty thick, so you don't have to worry too much, but I did manage to try and get it fairly smooth, so you can't see that I've had to redo this bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I did go around the sills as well to make sure there was no other little bits, and I put just a tiny little bit of rust killer and primer on just the jacking points. They weren't rusty, but I just wanted to touch those up as well. But that's pretty much it. So we'll get it masked up, chuck a bit of paper on there, because if you get this stuff on anything that's not where you want it, it's never coming off basically. And then we'll do a quick after shot and show you what it looks like. So let's get cracking. Okay, let's check out the handiwork then. So I've actually painted everything now. It's a little bit of fuming here, it's not too bad. I had the door open, so hopefully you will agree again that that is looking pretty good. So put a few coats on there, nothing too mental. Actually, in the end, in a rare bout of OCD, because I don't tend to take things too far to perfection if I don't need to, as I've actually done the whole seal. It made sense when I was down there. It's looked pretty good. So I am calling that job's a good one. I will at some point off camera check the other side out just to make sure there's nothing needed on there, but at last checked it was peachy. So yeah, that was basically the first in my 3-job list. Admittedly the easiest one, but at least I got started, and it helps. It gets you motivated and you start seeing some progress. So in the next episode we will be doing the stainless exhaust. We'll get the back of the car jacked up. I'll take you through some of the parts I've got and what we're going to hopefully do for it in the plan. I'm not a huge fan of welding and fabricating that kind of side of things, but I can do it, hopefully. So it's not going to be Project Binky levels, but it'll be good enough. But before I go, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's been watching the video so far. My subscriptions have gone up quite a lot since the last one, actually. I'm still massively enjoying it. Hopefully they're improving a little bit each time. But yeah, until the next episode, keep working on those cars, keep the projects going, and keep the comments coming. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, and I will do my best to accommodate. But thank you all, everyone. Catch you in the next one.